Welcome to the program. I'm Okpeyemi Owoshini. We start off with business news. The Nigerian government, through the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Authority, has issued licenses for 9 new modular refineries. The chief executive of the agency, Farouk Ahmed, announced this at the 2024 Oil Trading and Logistics Africa Downstream Energy Week in Lagos. According to Ahmed, Nigeria's refining capacity has been increasing under the current administration, especially with the Dangote refinery coming on stream. He further stated that apart from the 9 modular refineries, 7 licenses were also issued to construct and 4 licenses to also operate modular refineries. The Nigerian Senate has approved the request by President Bola Tinubu to refund a total of 24 billion naira to Kebbi and Nasarawa State for executing airport projects on behalf of the federal government. The upper legislative chamber approved Tinubu's request after the senator representing Taraba State, Manu Haruna, presented a report on behalf of the Committee on Local and Foreign Debt. On his part, the senator representing Adamawa State, Aminu Abbas, said the request should be approved considering the importance of the infrastructure to development and insecurity in the country. We'll take a break now and be back with company news. Welcome back. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has issued a stern warning to banks in Nigeria regarding ongoing disruptions to online banking services that have impacted consumers. The Commission expressed concerns that these disruptions hinder customers from accessing funds, making payments, and completing essential transactions. In a statement released by the FCCPC Executive Chairman and its Chief Executive Officer, Sunji Bello, he emphasized that these disruptions have negatively impacted millions and have serious implications for individuals and businesses alike. Bello added that the Commission is currently collaborating with relevant regulatory authorities and financial institutions to address the service disruptions and ensure consumer protection are enforced across the country. Nigerian Breweries PLC, the foremost brewing company in Nigeria, has recorded a 75% revenue growth for the 9-month period ended 30th September 2024 relative to the corresponding period in 2023. The revenue recorded for the company stood at 703 billion naira as against 402 billion naira, which was recorded in the corresponding period of 2023. According to the unaudited results released to the Nigerian Exchange Group, the company's gross profit in the period under review rose to 207 billion naira from 152 billion naira in the corresponding period of 2023, representing a 36% increase. Gross profit grew behind revenue as a result of a 99% surge in the cost of goods sold, primarily influenced by currency devaluation and rise in input costs. We'll take a break now, but when Money Matter returns, we'll be discussing President Bola Tinubu urging Nigerians to embrace the compressed natural gas initiative. I'll bring you details after this break. Welcome back. President Bola Tinubu has urged Nigerians to embrace the compressed natural gas initiative, which he said had come to stay. Now, following the removal of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, by President Bola Tinubu back in May 2023, the price of the commodity has increased 3 times since then amid a struggling economy and cost of living crisis in the country. President Bola Tinubu says that Nigerians now face a choice. They can either pay 1,000 naira per litre for regular petrol or use a cheaper alternative, compressed natural gas, at 200 naira per standard cubic meter. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Ekperikpe Ekpo, while addressing State House correspondents, said the President gave the charge at the Federal Executive Council meeting. Now, let's discuss the options of petrol or CNG offered by President Tinubu further. Oil and gas expert David Inyere joins me on the program. Thank you for your time, Mr. Inyere. Now, the president has provided options for Nigerians. They can either choose between buying petrol at 1,000 naira per litre or CNG at 200 naira per cubic meter. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think this is a fair deal offered by the president?
To me, it's a fair deal, even though it's coming a bit late, because many countries have already gone past this stage. But it is better late than never. That's what it is. It will actually reduce our dependency on fossil fuel because currently we're dependent on fossil fuel 100%. And natural gas is supposed to be more abundant and it's more fuel efficient than the fossil fuel. That's one thing we should know too. Though it contains fewer hydrocarbons, which is a very good deal for the country. And vehicles using compressed natural gases are better for the environment than the fossil fuel because of its very low carbon emission. And it's a good idea because it's supposed to bring down the cost of running your vehicles. That's one of the major importance of it, though there are some other things that you can look at that people will say, is it really necessary at this time? Yes, for this time, whatever that can bring down the cost of fuel, cost of living, cost of transportation is a welcome idea.
Now, given the significant price disparity between petrol at 1,000 naira per litre and CNG at 200 naira per standard cubic meter, how do you think this might influence consumer behavior in the short and long term?
Yeah, it will influence the behavior both in short and long term. Yes, the cost of a CNG, as they said now, let me use that word, as the government says, it's 200 naira per cubic meters. But it actually means that they are subsidizing it because you and me, we buy even the other gas, the cooking gas in the market. We know how much it is right now. So saying it's going to be 200 naira per cubic meter is something that is a welcome idea, but they are subsidizing it. Though the initial cost will be high. There is high upfront cost for conversion, which many consumers cannot afford now because of the way things are going. People are just merely surviving or trying to get their food. So people will react to it and say, wait a minute, this is going to cost me much money to convert. Then why do I need to do it? Yes, and again, there's another issue there because most of Nigerians use very old vehicles, and those very old vehicles are not easy to convert to CNG operation mode. It's going to cost more. There's high cost of it, but in the long run, it's going to save vehicle owners and drivers money, and which is a very good thing. If well implemented, there are obstacles that we will discuss in the later down the line, the safety concerns and the obstacles that we make it not very easy for people to embrace.
But what economic mechanisms do you think would amplify the shift towards CNG, and what unintended consequences should policymakers be wary of?
Well, let me start by saying that people, they should be wary because people are resistant to change. People are usually resistant to change, and they will come up with many reasons why they cannot convert. Though compressed natural gas is not as energy dense as gasoline or diesel that we currently use, it means you will get less mileage. You get less mileage than other fuels. One of the things that I need the government should do is to carry on enlightenment campaign to stress on the advantages of the compressed natural gas over the fossil fuel, stressing the savings in the long run. It's going to save them money in the long run, and that's what it is. Another thing is that I would recommend, if possible, they have to subsidize the conversion of your normal car and convert it to the compressed natural gas or biofuel or dual engine vehicles. If they can do that, that will help. One other thing that they can do is to make sure that the conversion plants, they are all available in all the local government areas. There are means through which they can do that by going into private partnership for individuals who have been doing this to establish a company. But if government want to run it alone, as usual, I think there will be a problem. They were not able to run NNPC to make it profitable until recently when we heard that they made profit last year. That's one thing. The economic advantage is going to boost the economy, and it's going to boost the purchasing power of people if we get a reduced means of fueling our vehicles in that country, Nigeria.
Well, now this is a new thing, a new initiative that Nigeria is embarking on. So what would you say are the specific infrastructural challenges that the country may face in expanding its CNG network?
Oh, a lot. Right? A lot of infrastructural challenges. We, we have a lot of bad roads now. Bad roads. If we are going to transport CNG by road, you see trailers falling here and there on the roads because of the bad road. They are not maintaining the roads, and there's issue with that. And if once a tanker or whatever, a tanker full load of gas fails, the implication on the people around, and not only the environmental pollution, but fire, which most times leads to death. And we don't have good railway system that traverse around the whole country that can help in distributing this. In other countries, they don't carry it on. They don't do it by road. You can either use railway system or use a pipeline network. If you want to do the pipeline now, you know what's the problem with pipeline in country Nigeria, where people are bridging the pipes. They might cause a lot of problem. Before we do that, we need to make sure that we are ready, infrastructural wise. The road is bad, then the railway system and the piping. Apart from that, we have insecurity, a lot of insecurity in the land, and that's another cause of concern, because these boys are there not looking at the adverse effect of what they are doing. All they want to do is to tap in the opportunity and they see what they can do. So we need to look at that, because like I said before, to establish CNG filling stations around the country is going to involve a huge amount of capital. That's one of the things that we need to look at. Even though the government have money to do that, I wouldn't advocate that the government should do that. Government should look at private partnership, private investment. There are investors who are ready to take this if there's an enabling environment for them to invest their money and make some profit.
But in terms of carbon emissions and air quality improvement, how does the transition from petrol to CNG align with Nigeria's environmental goals?
Well, natural gas usually is more environmentally friendly than fossil fuel because it burns cleaner and it emits a lower amount of carbon. It emits about 50 to 60% less carbon dioxide than the regular petroleum product that we use. And it also emits greenhouse gases, which with a lower life cycle into the atmosphere, unlike the petroleum products that we currently use. So we need to look at it that way. However, the combustion also releases methane and lowers air quality. So it is something that we need to look at. It's a good thing that CNG is coming into play because of its low carbon emission and pollutants into the environment. It's something that needs to be supported.
Well, you mentioned the other time that most people do not welcome the idea of change. Well, most Nigerians do not actually welcome the idea of the CNG initiative. But then it has come to stay, like the president said. What strategies do you think could be implemented to encourage more Nigerians to convert their vehicles to CNG?
Yeah, like I said initially, you need some educational campaign. We can call it, in those days, we have used mass mobilization for rural and whatever people. We need to establish that can do this campaign. Yes, most people in the cities can embrace it, but go to the rural areas, it's not easy to embrace. So we need to do that campaign. Government need to assure them what the benefit, apart from this lowering cost of operating your vehicle. because the initial cost, like I said, is huge. Unless government will be willing to subsidize it or make it tax-free. And one other thing that we need to look at is looking at this, the price now. Government said it's 200 naira per cubic meter, but I'm sure there's some element of subsidy. And once there's subsidy, there's usually problem. And the other thing that the government needs to do is to ensure that they have conversion plants or centers in each of the local government areas and see how we can spread the filling stations to every part of the country. Because one of the challenges we're going to have is establishing the filling stations where people can drive in their car to fill their container. Apart from the other challenges that are there, we can focus on having the biofuel, that the engines that can run on the natural gas and the gasoline. Another option again, we can introduce is having the dual fuel, that the engines that can run on natural gas but use diesel fuel for ignition. This is usually found in heavy-duty vehicles. It's something that the government need to sit down, deeply, come up with the roadmap, the good strategy that will make it successful, rather than just jumping into it. We are used to government coming up with something, they just introduce it, and they go into it without doing proper due diligence, doing real work, find out all the necessary things that are required to be in place before they start. And once you do that, do your homework very well, and do this enlightenment campaign, going around and educating people, because there are risks associated with compressed natural gas, which can ignite under high pressure and temperature. So these are some of the things, and put all the infrastructures in place, like emergency response system, having good emergency response system in place. Now, if you call the fire, whatever they call them, the firefighters, that there's fire again, it takes them a long time to come. And most times when they come, they don't have the equipment to fight the fire. So government should be ready with all these things before this thing can come up, the introduction of CNG can come up and properly. Thank you.
But what role do you think public-private partnership plays in developing the CNG market? Because you will agree with me that the government cannot do it alone. So how best do you think the government can create a more favorable investment environment for CNG to thrive?
Yeah, like you said, government cannot do it alone, quite all right. And there are companies right now that are doing the conversion of a diesel generator to LPG and CNG. I know of some, and I have worked with some of them. It's important that government come up with the blueprint on how this introduction of CNG is going to take off in Nigeria. Let them come up, open it to private people to invest. There are people who are ready to invest their money in this field, in this area of business, because some people are even looking forward to it. And there are some organizations I know in some countries that are willing to fund such a project that will reduce pollution in the environment. So let government come up with the process, the procedure, or whatever the strategy, and call in investors. Let them come in to invest the money. Government is not in the business of, the government don't run business very well. Let them concentrate on government, providing the adequate infrastructure, providing the enabling environment for private investors to come into this field. And when giving it out, let's give it out to people, to professionals, to companies who can run it. Not like what we do in the past, giving the power holding company to people, and now every day the city is thrown into darkness because they did not go through the right process. Let them come up with that environment, go through the right process, invite people who have experience in this, who can deliver, not just people they want to settle because they want to give them business.
Well, finally, Mr. Inyere, this is a two-in-one question. But how does the shift towards CNG fit into Nigeria's overall energy strategy, particularly in terms of reducing dependency on fossil fuel? And then what are the potential risks and rewards associated with this shift in context of global energy trends?
Yeah, I will start answering your question from this way, that, well, The advanced world, they are moving towards renewable energy, which is considered environmentally friendly, and it plays a crucial role in reducing greenhouse gas emission. And it equally promotes sustainable development. And one of the goals of the SDG is to introduce the renewable energy. We're looking at this way. Compressed natural gas is actually considered a transition between renewable and non-renewable energy. Though it is not actually renewable because it still emits some pollutants into the environment. This Nigeria going into CNG is a two-way step approach towards renewable energy. But this two-way step approach is good rather than total dependency on fossil fuel. It's good that they do that. So by adopting this approach, it will reduce our dependency on the petroleum products, the fossil fuel. That will help us get a cleaner environment than what we have right now. But let's look at it too. When we are moving from one step to the other, there are attendant problems there. Yes, I'm in support of moving to renewable energy through this CNG as a transition. But there are other people who are going to fight the process, who are benefiting from the petroleum product saga or whatever you can call them, because they are going to see that the ways of making their money is going to be reduced or eliminated. The one thing that we need the government need to do to help this process succeed, which I don't mention before, is to make sure that there is adequate protection and security for this sector to take off. There are potential risks, like I mentioned one of them before about exploding if heated, and you will find out that when we don't have precautionary measures in place, like making our firefighters and emergency response system very good and active and provided with necessary equipment, is going to be a very big challenge. But on the whole, it's a good step moving towards renewable energy that the whole world is shifting to, and getting cars to run on batteries, electric vehicles, rather than using gas, whether it is compressed natural gas or petroleum gas. It's important that they move this forward as a two-pronged approach to getting to the renewable energy, whereby we can have clean environment, we'll have less of carbon dioxide in the air, and we'll have less of pollution. Thank you.
Well, oil and gas expert David Inyere, many thanks for lending your thoughts on the program. Well, that's it on this episode of the program. Many thanks for joining us. I'm Okpeyemi Owosheni. See you next time.